Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, it's National Sugar Cookie Day.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Sugar Cookie? That's my stage name when I pole dance. Sugar Cookie. Yeah.
You know what? If I went back and called all the references to you and stage dancing or some other kind of dancing, exotic dancing, erotic dancing, we'd have about 9,000 references, and you have yet to make your maiden voyage into one of these places.
They're all funny, though. I mean, all these lines are funny. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. We're off the iPad today, real cameras. In today's episode, Shohei Ohtani doesn't do batting practice. A 16-year-old basketball star goes pro, and Max Scherzer surrenders a grand slam to a relief
Your
pitcher.
Your boy got rocked, baby.
No, but we begin today with the Phoenix Suns going up 2-0 on Milwaukee in the NBA Finals, winning again at home by double digits despite Giannis Antetokounmpo scoring 42 points. There was no free throw disparity for Coach Boo to rail against. His team took 9 more foul shots than Phoenix. Wilbon, are you confident the Bucks will make this a series?
No, not confident. I think they will. But they've got to win Game 3 to make it a series, and somebody other than Giannis has to show up because Middleton and Drew Holiday did not last night. They just didn't, and some of that is Phoenix's defense, which is vastly underrated. Some of it is Milwaukee's own confusion. You know, when you're watching these games, Tony, you get the idea sometimes that they just don't really have a grasp of what it is they're doing. And then even when they do, on the nights they really come out focused and organized, then they don't make any adjustments that make any sense. So, no, I don't have any confidence or faith they'll make it a series. I think that the energy, the talent, they've been at this for 3 years. Giannis is a 2-time MVP. You got a lot of positive things, a lot of resources, a lot of things that you feel good about. But am I confident? No. Phoenix playing too well.
So I told you a number of times on this very show that I thought Phoenix would win with or without Antetokounmpo on the court.
You did.
I even told you before Game 1, I said the winner of that game could actually sweep this series. Now, you're right. Milwaukee's got to win Game 3 because no NBA team in the finals has ever come back from 0-3.
Never.
And only four teams in the NBA finals have come back from 0-2. Now, maybe you think, and maybe they can, Milwaukee win 4 out of 5, but I don't see that right now.
Nope, me either.
I don't think Phoenix is great. I think they're beatable. But when I look at this particular series, they are a better team. They pass the ball better. They set each other up better. They are less reliant on one person because that one person, Chris Paul, wants to distribute the ball. Let me give him credit. He wants to involve everybody, and he has.
He has, Tony. But, you know, you said they're not a great team, maybe not historically great. I mean, it's their first year together. My goodness, they didn't even have a traditional camp, training camp. So, I agree, but they are great for this year because of what you said. They play that way defensively as well. They cover for each other. They don't get caught in spots. Let me just say this very carefully without screaming today. Their coach doesn't let them get caught in spots that makes the whole team vulnerable. The Milwaukee Bucks can't say the same thing. So, Tony, as I'm conflicted, I always want these things to be a series. I like seeing 6 or 7 games, but I'm in the tank, as you know, and as you have accused me of. And it's true. For the Phoenix Suns, I want to see them win. But, man, I would feel bad for Giannis specifically if they went out like this. They got to win Game 3.
Let me go to that point. Because I had Tim Legler on my podcast today. And we both think Legler is brilliant when it comes to analysis.
Yes, he is.
And Legler said of Antetokounmpo, he's a great player, but he's not a complete player. He cannot score from the foul line, and he cannot move out and score. And to that point, he's 12 of 62 from 3 in the playoffs. Ooh. That's 19%. It's terrible. And he also said that Milwaukee is lost on defense and too reliant on Antetokounmpo, particularly when Middleton and Holiday are blah at the moment.
They are, what are they? Last night.
12 for 37. So.
Yeah, not good. Not good, Tony. One of the top high school players, moving down a couple of levels in basketball in the country, is going pro, Tony, at the age of 16. Rising high school junior Jalen Lewis is passing on future college options like Kentucky, Duke, and UCLA to play immediately in the new Overtime Elite Professional League. It's a multi-year deal worth more than $1 million total, and his head coach will be former UConn coach Kevin Ollie. Tony, are you supportive of this option for teenagers?
Generally, I'm not. Generally, I don't think a 16-year-old has any business doing something like this. Generally, I believe that even if they say that these kids are going to go to some sort of school, I don't really believe it's some sort of school. I believe they leave all that stuff behind. But maybe I'm being too harsh, Mike. I look at Luka Doncic, and this is a tradition, I guess, in Europe, that kids turn pro in a variety of sports very early.
Sure.
And he looks like it's working out great. You know, I tend to think of Jennifer Capriati and tennis burnouts. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should think of Chris Evert, who, although she turned pro at 18, she was basically on the circuit at 16 and 17. John McEnroe was on the circuit at 18 years old. All of these things worked out. Soccer players do it all the time. Hockey players, Bobby Orr signed his first contract at 14. Gretzky probably signed a contract at 16 or 17. So maybe I should give this kid a chance. Maybe he's going to be a great player, and why shouldn't he get paid now? My other objection is obviated by what you just said. My other objection was he's not going to get good coaching. Kevin Ollie won a national championship. So maybe I'm wrong to think of this as a bad thing.
Tony, I think, look, I'm rethinking this also in a different way, though, than you. Well, I'm kind of the same. I'm not going to look at it as good or bad. Some things are for some kids and some families, in the case if there's a family truly fully involved for kids going forward. You mentioned tennis and soccer, and we can go to skating, figure skating, gymnastics. I mean, they're all just sort of taken from their homes at a very young age, and they're put into something because they are complete and utter phenoms. And I'm going to, look, I've railed against this for my particular subculture, for African-American people and men specifically, who I think too many people wanted them to give the back of their hand to formal and higher education, and I don't like that personally. But I got to look at this individually, Tone, and that's how this is going to have to be managed and manipulated. In my house, this would not be happening in my house, but it's just mine. I'm not going to be critical of people who say, wait a minute, we're going to manage it this way, and this kid's going to have $1 million by the time he's 19, or he or she. And so, you know what? It's a new world, Tone, like name, image, and likeness. It's a new world.
You're right.
We're opened up to other cultures, other countries have been doing this for decades.
And
we have. And it worked okay for them.
It's the Wild West out there now. There's no regulations. There's no rules. You know, I mean, I think the kid could wait to go to college and get money there, but maybe he doesn't want to wait. He wants to get the money
maybe he doesn't want to wait.
They go to these academies in all sorts of sports, as you're mentioning. And I'll tell you what, Mike, the coaches shouldn't be the only people to get money. Let the kids get a little bit more.
I agree with that.
I
agree
move
with
on.
that, Tom.
Two baseball players had tremendous achievements last night. Brad Miller of the Phillies had 3 homers as the Phillies beat the Cubs. And Daniel Camarena, a relief pitcher for the Padres, hit a grand slam off Max Scherzer in his second major league at bat. And the Padres eventually beat the Nats after trailing 8-0. Wilbon, who had the more memorable night, Brad Miller or Daniel Camarena?
I'm going very personally on this. I was a pitcher who in the Little League title game, West Chatham Park 1970, thank you very much. I was a pitcher who hit a grand slam to tie the game. We didn't win the game. We didn't win the championship. We lost it. But it's the highlight of my life. Life. I was 12. And there's nothing greater. I mean, a pitcher hitting a grand slam.
Well, can I ask you a question?
I did not give up the first 4 runs, by the way.
Was Max Scherzer pitching to you? Because he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Well, that doubles it. That makes it exponentially greater that the pitcher hitting the grand slam is the answer. A lot of guys hit 3. A lot of guys hit 3. Pitcher hitting the grand slam. Come on, man.
Okay, so we've had 10 people hit 3 this year. So call me when somebody hits 4. I don't want to know about 3. The answer is Camarena, because he hits it off a future Hall of Famer in Max Scherzer. First home run to a pitcher Max Scherzer has ever given up. Let me ask you a question, Mike. Do you know how many relief pitchers have hit a grand slam in a game where their team made up an 8-run deficit? 1. This guy. This is the guy.
Who was
His
called
family
up
is
earlier
in the
day. He just got called up.
He's a San Diego kid. His family's there. I watched his interview afterwards where he said, I blacked out rounding first. I didn't know what was going on. It's his first major league hit, and he's a relief pitcher. It's such a good story, though it stabs me in the heart because that's the kind of ghastly loss that you can't recover from. It's
By the way,
ghastly and haunting.
I'm sitting in the finals game last night, and I checked my phone, and the Nationals are up 8-0. I go, well, it's a happy night for Tony.
Max is on the mound.
His team is up 8-0. Max is on the mound. I check in again on this game at 2:30 in the morning Pacific time or Mountain Time extended, whatever we're on. And your team had lost. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
No, it's unbelievable. It's terrible.
What a great story.
I'm glad the bell rang because this segment is bothering me. Let's take a break. Coming up, Shohei Ohtani has done it all this year without taking batting practice. What's the word for that?
And it'll be a huge Sunday in England for Italy as the nation's soccer team plays in Wembley and Matteo Berrettini plays in the Wimbledon final.
You can't be down 8. You can't be up 8-0 with Max on the mound and lose the game.
The Cubs just did it. The Cubs did it last week.
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Only pay for
Italy, which people in England are saying will draw the largest television audience ever in the country, which means, Mike, more people will see that than saw Andy Murray win or saw Nick Faldo win or saw Lennox Lewis win. That's a really big deal. I don't have a horse in the race. I'm just hoping there's more than one goal and it's not penalty kicks. I'm hoping it ends
Tony,
with real stuff.
No matter what happens, it's temporarily defining because there are going to be other great events, featuring even those two against each other. And as you mentioned, we've seen this in golf and tennis where the nation is just a Twitter, because of the participation, just participating. I mean, they're not as sort of demanding about it as the United States, where if you don't win, you're a bum on sports radio the next morning and on the Twitter, as you would like to say. So temporarily defining. It'll be great, for the moment. And then in a month, there'll be something else to define England, Italy, and maybe against each other.
Next.
It's blank that Shohei Ohtani hasn't taken batting practice all
because we want to get the feel of the shot. I will tell you what would surprise me if Ohtani also said, I don't need warm-ups when I go pitch, because I think you have to have warm-ups when you pitch. So.
It's a nice story. It's also not possible because it's not true. He doesn't do the cage and, the rhythm of the cage, Tony. You're right. When you are covering baseball, oh, my God, it's so great because it's 4 in the afternoon. There's nobody in the stands. Some of the most famous people in the history of the sport, they turn around and talk to you while they're in the cage. It is just a stunning thing to do. But it's not possible, Tony. He hits underneath the stands. He hits off the machine. Every ballpark now has these things under the stands nobody can see. And guys are back there between innings. And you're not supposed to do it, whether they're using a tee to perfect the stroke or level it off, whatever, whether they're hitting against 105 because they can, crank it up to that. It's not possible because it isn't. Because he does take batting practice, just not that batting practice.
That's it. Let's take one. Happy time, people. Happy 57th birthday tomorrow, Urban Meyer. After winning national championships at Florida and Ohio State, Meyer's taken the plunge into NFL water to coach the Jacksonville Jaguars, who've been dreadful in recent years. Meyer's MO is to succeed quickly and leave almost as quickly. He is not a long-term growth stock. Meyer walks into a team with the overall #1 draft pick Trevor Lawrence, an allegedly generational quarterback. Meyer's already been controversial in Jacksonville. He hired, then quickly got rid of a strength coach who was accused of being racist. He got fined $100,000 for OTA violations. And he has brought in Tim Tebow, his former quarterback at Florida, to be a tight end. Only a few college coaches have succeeded in the NFL. Jimmy Johnson, Pete Carroll, Dick Vermeil come to mind. We will see if Meyer can.
Yeah, Tony, I don't even count Pete Carroll because Pete Carroll was in the pros. He went to college. He went back to the pros. Like you said, though, very, very few. And Urban Meyer, he's not waiting around to see which way the wind is blowing. He starts making moves. Whether these moves are going to work or not is going to be one of the great storylines early season starting in training camp.
Yeah, he takes charge in a hurry, he does. Happy anniversary, Phil Jackson. Around this day 32 years ago, Bulls general manager Jerry Krause made one of the greatest managerial moves in sports by promoting Jackson from Doug Collins' assistant to head coach of the Chicago Bulls. Jackson's previous head coaching experience had been with the Albany Patroons of the CBA. Jackson inherited Michael Jordan, and some people say that made all the difference. But anybody who watched the Jordan documentary could see the obvious bond between player and coach. Jackson and Jordan won 6 championships in Chicago. After that was over, Jackson went to Los Angeles and won 3 championships with Shaq and Kobe, and 2 more with Kobe and without Shaq. I'm old enough to have covered Phil Jackson as a player with the Knicks, and I sought him out after games thinking he was the quickest guy in a room full of smart guys.
Tony, no coach wins championships without great players. That said, Phil Jackson, I mean, he goes up there. I know Red Auerbach was the coach of coaches, and Pat Riley, you can't dispute anything that he has done, and Greg Popovich, one of the great coaches of all time. But Phil Jackson seems to me to be at the top of the heap. I know he coached the greatest of the great, but so did those other guys, and Phil just won more than anybody.
Here's the deal. You got to win with the talent, and he won.
Yeah,
Other people haven't.
He won.
Happy trails to Zaila Avant-Garde's competition at the National Spelling Bee. The 14-year-old from Harvey, Louisiana won the spelling bee, and then we found out spelling isn't all she excels at. Zaila holds a variety of records for dribbling multiple basketballs. And she's not merely an accomplished dribbler. She's a very good basketball player who hopes someday to play in the WNBA.
Full
Zaila
speed.
considers spelling to be a side hobby to basketball, even though she routinely practices spelling 7 hours a day. Unlike many contestants in the spelling bee who start training as early as kindergarten, Zaila started only a few years ago. In case you're wondering what the winning word was, it was Murraya. M-U-R-R-A-Y-A, and no, even as an English major, I have no idea what that means.
This video will be posted all over my house in as many places as I can post it. Because I don't want to hear a certain, point guard in training at 13 say, yeah, Dad, spelling, I got to practice. Practice this. Look at this young woman. How about that? Everybody ought to hear her story. Don't tell me you can't do both, because she's killing both.
All right, let's go to the big finish. Last one, Bud Light signed Nikita Kucherov to an endorsement deal. Do you like that?
I mean, this is, like one good turn deserves another, right? I mean, is he going to be shirtless in all his commercials? Probably so.
Out of time, try and do better the next time, and I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great weekend, Knuckleheads. You can get the podcast on the app or Apple Podcasts. Isaiah, Avery, thank you. Now here's SportsCenter.
Oh, junior girls, welcome to Columbia. Big tournament this coming week.